Some cry, some smile, some fight every day. We rise to the top, 'cause we know what it takes.
So without any further ado, I would like to introduce the head of operation for Patrick Brown, the mayor of Brampton, Mrs. Frances Bradshaw.
Thank you. Yes. So I am not a public speaker. I typically set up these things. So I would typically set up the event. I set up the speeches, all the people behind the scenes. So I'm not used to being on this side of things. So we'll see how this goes. But thank you so much for having me. I think these types of engagements and initiatives are so extremely important within our community because it gives us a chance to just kind of come together, have those conversations that we don't always get to have in our traditional 9-to-5 workspaces. So I think I have, 10 minutes or so? Okay, so I'm gonna go over a couple of things with you. I'm gonna explain to you guys how I got where I am, because I think understanding how people achieve success, I don't know if that's the right word for me yet, or at least how they're getting towards success is important to know so that you can kind of take some of those tools with you. And then just maybe some tips and knowledge from my behind the scenes being in politics for the last 17 years. So I got started in politics when I was 15 because, like most other kids in Ontario, I needed something, volunteer hours. So I had this friend of mine and he's like, I know this guy and you can get as many volunteer hours as you like. And I like a hustle. So I'm like, okay, I need a lot of hours and everything I do, I want to do really, really well. So I started volunteering with this 25-something-year-old guy named Patrick Brown who decided that he was going to be running to become an MP. Didn't really know what that is, but I know that I could get my hours, and my mom was extremely conservative. She's a Zimbabwean immigrant, married to a Polish, German-Canadian, second-generation white guy from Saskatchewan, growing up in Alberta. So my background is just very bizarre. But it's kind of led me into the path that I'm in. So my mom was like, well, I need to know who this Patrick Brown that you're going to be spending all your time with is, because I was only allowed to go to school and church and figure skating, because that was my side hustle. So this Patrick Brown guy starts coming to the house, and the guy won't leave the house. He's always there for something, and they keep using me as child labor. So I'm doing the folding and the go door knock, go do this. So politics kind of accidentally happened to me. And so Patrick ended up making my mom his riding association president. So does anybody here know what a riding association president is? We're all failing at politics. You all get an F, but you're gonna get an A by the end. So does anybody here know how to become an MP? We're super failing, but that's okay because we're gonna give you all the tools so that we can either, one of us can become an MP or we can pick somebody. So the Riding Association basically is the group that is behind a politician. So the Liberals have them, the NDP have them, all the different parties have them. I didn't know what the difference was. I just know that Patrick was running and he seemed like a nice guy and my mom was making me do this. So he runs for nomination, wins the nomination, runs for election against the Liberal candidate and loses. And it hurt him. It was really, really hard on him. Some of my friends here might know what that experience is like, but he got back up and he decided he was gonna do it again, but he was never gonna lose. And so he worked harder than anybody else I had ever seen. Now this gentleman, he was running against a minister who was already in place with the Liberal Party, who had been in power for a while in our city. He was 25 or 26, so very, very young. This is running to be your member of parliament. And a lot of people really didn't think he could do it, but he knew how to work harder than anybody else in the city. He was in the process of going to law school. So this guy is on city council, he is in law school, and he's decided that he's gonna be an MP. I don't know why. He doesn't sleep a lot. I guess that's why. So we go through the nomination process, he runs for the second election and he wins. And so at this point, I end up becoming a part-time student working in his office. And so this opportunity, starting at around 15, 16 years old, unknowingly really shaped my future. And so I got to really be behind the scenes of power in politics. And the great thing about Patrick is because he was so young and because nobody thought he could do it, he brought on a lot of other people that were the same way. So my office was constantly filled with anybody in my age range, so anybody from 15 to 25 to my mother. So it was a great experience because you got to work with people from a very diverse background. Politics attracts people from anything, from doctors to lawyers to business people to people who work in social services. My background in education is sociology. And so being involved in politics was interesting because as I'm in university, I'd be working part-time in an MP's office. So the things we're talking about in school, I am then working on case files for. So I was actually building my career unknowingly. And so when I graduated, my first full-time job was working for the mayor, was at that time an MP in Ottawa. So I moved to Ottawa. He had already recommended me a few years back to do an internship with a minister's office. So this is all opportunities that I got through volunteering. And the reason that I'm telling you guys this is sometimes we think that there has to be a return immediately on our investment. And sometimes that's not the case. So my investment started with something that I needed. And then I looked at how can I turn my investment into an opportunity. And so I would volunteer whenever there was a chance. I was the first one. And you know what's great in politics? Okay, here's the time where I get to tell all the secrets, because black people in the room. Everybody in politics is old. They don't know how computers work. Nothing against old people, because they actually know a lot of stuff, and there's that transfer of knowledge. But in terms of doing the mechanics of a campaign, they really are dependent. We're so dependent in politics on volunteers and community members and people behind the scenes. The power dynamics in politics is not actually the politician here. A good politician does not put himself here and then the constituents here. We put the constituents as our boss. So the thing that Mayor Brown always taught me is that you work for the constituent. So my job now, I started working with the mayor. He became a MP. I then ended up leaving and moving out to Alberta to work for the former policy advisor to the Prime Minister. And so that was a great experience. I then also went private sector, and so I got to learn a bit about how that world worked. And so now I got the opportunity to come back when Mayor Brown decided that he was going to originally run for regional chair, which then turned into running for mayor of Brampton. And because of that long-term history and experience and relationship that I built out with him, I now have a really exciting opportunity not just to build myself personally, but also to give back to the community. So we've started some amazing initiatives that some of you guys are involved in. We're doing the first ever Black Mayors Advisory Council. So our mayor meets monthly with... So our mayor is meeting monthly with Black community members to get on-the-ground grassroots feedback about what we want to see, because his job, we're only as good as the people around us. So I really encourage you guys, no matter what industry you are in, politics is going to affect your life, whether it is finance, whether you're a dental hygienist, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a stay-at-home mom. You are all affected by politics. And the biggest challenge that I have in my role is how do I engage with you? How do I reach out? How do I get you involved? How do I get you passionate about the things that are going on in the city? Or how do I learn about what I should be passionate about? So you guys, in our community, there's a lack of engagement within the Black community with politics. And this is the fault of politicians, but also we do have some power on the side of the community to change that dynamic. This election that the Mayor Brown ran in was very highly contested. He wasn't supposed to win the election. Nobody saw it coming. But one of the communities that played a massive, massive role in his win was the Black community. We spent a lot of time going out of our way to make sure we were in Black spaces, that we weren't waiting for Black people to come to us, but that we were coming to people in the community, because it's the job of a politician to serve. If you come at your job with the heart of a servant, you're going to be better at it, and you're going to get more out of it. Because my job is to deal with people's complaints. Nobody comes to me and says, Francis, my road was so well paved the other day, I just wanted to let you know, you did a great job. I'm here to deal with problems, but that's not a bad thing. When you build relationships with communities, it's easier when problems happen. They know who they're going to talk to. Right now, the mayor is in a WhatsApp group with a group called the Mayor's Black Advisory Council. Anybody in Brampton, if you're not in the group, let me know. We will add you up. The only requirement is that you are Black and from Brampton. Very, very high standards here. But the reason for that is we need to create better ongoing relationships. Politicians need to know who we are and what's important to us, and vice versa. They need to know so that they can do the work. So I really encourage a lot of you, get involved in politics. Go out, find a candidate that you're either passionate about, find an issue that you're passionate about, or go run. There's a lot of great opportunities. Running for office, it's a lot of work. There's a lot of work you have to put in ahead of time, but the reward is amazing after. I am here to help. My job, I don't want to run for office. I think it's a terrible job. I know that seems like a contradiction. It's a lot of work, but for the right person, it's very transformative what you can do. And our community has so much power. We were transformative in getting Mayor Brown elected in Brampton, and we have elections coming up. We have the federal election coming up. We just had a provincial election. In Brampton, we're going to be launching 2 big campaigns. Right now, we have the Fair Deal for Brampton, trying to get healthcare dollars into Brampton, which we're going to be asking the community to advocate for. And let's talk about, what does Black healthcare look like? What does Black mental health look like? We want to really open the door to discussion and conversation. And then we're also going to be working on a very special project. The idea has sparked in Brampton of the creation of a Black community center. So a space that's for us, by us, right? Serving the needs for the community, but also educating the rest of the community about us. So we have something to be proud of, so that we have a place that we can come together and have fellowship, learn, grow, develop, and then go out and extend that into the community. So thank you so much for having me. I'm gonna have to run out very quickly, but please share everyone my contact.
We rise to the top, 'cause we know what it takes. Through it all we survive, yet still hold the faith unchangeable.